What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 552, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest joining this episode, and that is a water polo player from Michigan who competes for Air Force, Benny Swanson. How are you doing, Benny?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Really appreciate you joining. I know the weekend just basically started, so how's things been going? I know you guys have a spring season as well. How's just water polo going in general?
Yeah, so we came back from the holiday break, Christmas and after finals, and we kind of just got right into it. We're in 8 hours right now, so that's like the hour cap on practice time. So I kind of had a rough start. Our first lift back, I ended up tweaking my back, and it kind of kept me out for a bit. So an extra slow start for me, but now we're back. I'm back doing just going to practice and trying to get some work in during the off season.
I was just gonna say, water polo kind of seems like a pretty similar sport for swimming. Like it truly never kind of ends. You don't really get like a long kind of period off. Is that pretty true? Like you kind of have to be in the pool for a majority of time to kind of keep where you're at.
I would say it's close to swimming that way. Like we do have a true fall season, true fall competitive season, but we do practice throughout like the winterish months, and we're
Okay.
going until like through April this year. So we do have like an exhibition spring season. So yeah, but it does take a while to get up, like get in shape and get back to that like peak performance and peak condition that we need to be able to play multiple games in a weekend.
How excited are you for the spring season? Are you more like kind of like, hey, let's get back into this, but also it'll be nice to get a little bit of a break afterwards?
Yeah, I mean breaks are great, especially here, especially going into finals. It's great to be able to not focus on water polo for a couple months and go tackle finals. And right here in this little layover period where we're in 8 hours, it's nice to have uh less of a load on our plate. But yeah, I'm really excited for spring season. Get a chance to get the team together, see what we're gonna look like in the fall. Learn how to play with everyone, all the seniors moving out and people moving up. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
And then obviously once the fall comes, the new players come, you kind of introduce them, and then it's a whole new season again. But how in the world does someone from Michigan find their way playing water polo? Because it's really not a sport that is talked about or played very often.
No, it's not. Michigan's not popular at all. So I went to Walled Lake Central High School, in the Walled Lake Commerce area. And the way I got into it was there was just like a district-wide email saying they want men's water polo players, and I was coming back from Blue Lake like band camp
Okay.
over over the summer as an eighth grader, and they said, yeah, eighth graders can come play. They can play JV games. They can't suit up for varsity games, but they come to practice, show up. It's a lesser pay to play. So that was just a great opportunity. I showed up first day of practice. I was in swim trunks and goggles and with my water bottle. And I don't know, like water polo is typically played in a speedo.
Yeah.
Uh, Showing up in swim trunks was looking back kind of funny, kind of embarrassing, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I ended up playing all through there, all through high school. Ended up going all state my senior year, and I kind of knew I was gonna come here. Once I got some of my applications back from other colleges and some of my scholarships or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to get in Coach Huck's ear about playing here, and
Okay.
I eventually got a response. So they were like, "Yeah, show up, and we have a spot for you if you want it." So now I'm here.
So basically, it was almost kind of like meant to be like you're going to end up at Air Force anyways, but then you obviously get to play a sport that you really enjoy doing. But it almost seemed like when you started out, you didn't necessarily know what you're getting into. Did you ever think that you would kind of enjoy the sport? Or how long did it kind of take you to realize, like, hey, not only is this fun, but this is something I could be really good at?
I think those were two different timelines when I realized it could be fun and when something I could be pretty good at. I would say after my first or second practice, it sucked in high school again. Like showing up, I was overweight and I was in swim trunks, so I
Yeah.
I was pretty out of place at the time, but I thought it was really fun, and I got some good mentorship from one of our juniors at the time, Austin Spencer. Uh, and then when I figured out I could be pretty decent was probably my sophomore year.
Okay.
Kind of hit a growth spurt, slimmed down a little bit in weight, and kind of just took off from there. That was I don't want to say like a breakout season, but our team was really good, and they put me in the right position to be able to go do something with it. So that's probably when I realized I could at least play club level at the college level.
Was that when they end up putting you at center, or when did you truly kind of start playing the center position? Because that's what you currently play at Air Force.
Yeah, that was definitely more of a sophomore year thing. I
Okay.
was a 1-2 side guy my freshman year. JV eighth grade was not. It was positionless. It was really bad. You don't want to see a JV
Yeah.
high school Michigan water polo game. But
Probably not.
se- no, probably not. It's not. It's not a pretty sight. Um, but yeah, sophomore year, I kind of moved into a more stereotypical center position, uh, more often than not. So that's probably when I started establishing, yeah, I want to play inside.
Did you enjoy it at first? Because for a lot of people, they kind of consider two positions in water polo the hardest. It's goalie and center. Like center is an extremely rough position to play, but also one of the barriers of entry to water polo is not only like the mental side of it, but is like the physical toll and like wear and tear that can truly take on you. And being a center is probably one of the most rough positions and one of those really biggest barriers of entry at that point.
Yeah, so I come from Michigan, so they're not near as physical as they are, such as in like California high school water polo.
Okay.
So again, a little bit different experience, but I always loved the physical games. I think if the refs are gonna let you play, then okay, let us go play and let us go wrestle it out and decide it in the pool, kind of take it out of the referee's hands, so
Yeah.
that I kind of enjoy that.
Was it a little bit of a wake-up call going from Michigan water polo to when you got to Air Force and just kind of the level of physicality that it was played at?
Yeah, 100%. Like there's not I don't think there's a way I could even describe it. There's a huge difference and there's a huge size difference as well. You're going from a high school to a college sport, there's going to be a huge size difference already. And I think I made a more drastic jump than some of my teammates may have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, like I specifically mentioned, being a center, it's going to involve like constant wrestling, kicking, being held down from centers. How do you find that enjoyable? Like, I know it's something that you specifically said, like you enjoy the physicality part of it, but like one of the things about water polo, it truly seems this might sound bad, but like it almost seems like you kind of mean or like a lot of people kind of like hold you down under the water purposely. Like obviously you can get like excursions and stuff like that, but like it's doesn't necessarily seem the most fun for most people.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say you purposely get held down, but I think, but especially at center, it's a one-on-one battle every single time, and you're either going to win or going to lose. And when you're winning that battle, it's one of the greatest feelings in the sport, in my opinion. Right? There's other great feelings and there's great moments that you could have, but if you're constantly winning a battle and you get a matchup that you can win every time or you're going to win most of the time, that's a great feeling when you're winning that battle because you're doing your part as a center.
How early on in a match do you kind of realize that? Like you realize like, hey, like this is going to be a one-on-one that you want to win a majority of the time.
I mean, I would say it starts in the film room, and Coach Brown usually prepares us pretty well for that. We're able to look at some of the center defenders that we'll face, and most of them build up some kind of reputation on what they're good and what they're bad at. So, and then you just get in the water. It's usually a possession or two in, and you'll figure it out pretty quickly whether or not you can keep winning the matchup or you have to pick your spots, or is there going to be a better option just based on the defense that they're giving you. If they're running a three-person drop, there's not much you can do as a center. Like you're not gonna have that many opportunities, but when they come your
Yeah.
way, you gotta be ready for them.
Is it a little bit of like a chess match for the most part between you and the other center? Like, kind of obviously, you said picking your battles. Like, that's a little bit of a different chess match. But I know one thing about water polo is that it's a game that is tried to play like from the inside out. Like, you want to kind of get the ball to your center, which is the best opportunity to like score or at least get a quick shot. Like, there's a little bit of kind of a chess match that goes on between you and the other team throughout the whole kind of match.
Yeah, so just from a basic tactic standpoint, yeah, you want to work inside out, but some teams work outside in, and that's how it's going to be for some games. Some games, the opposing team's going to open up in a heavy drop because they don't want to let your center beat them, so they're going to open up in a heavy drop, and then it's going to be up to your shooters that they're going to put their shots away and draw that defense out, spread them out a little bit more. And I would say our outside line, our outside wings do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
They definitely give us the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and that's where the film comes in, right? Like, I'm sure you guys probably spend a lot of time watching film on what you guys do, what the other teams do, like how to kind of prepare for each match, kind of depending on the way the style that the other team plays.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Like I said, Coach Brown prepares us really well for that, getting the scouting report to us early in the week so we can look over that and know. And there's a center section on there. It's what are their center defenders what are they good at? What are they bad at? Where can you try and exploit them? And then a lot of our film is also on ourselves. It's like, what's the best play here? And we got to make that best play every single time.
Sometimes it's, I don't want to say more important, but sometimes it's really important to know like yourselves about as well as like, like the opponent. Like, if you know what you do well, then you can truly try to game plan for that against the other opponent too.
Yeah, I mean, if you can play to your strengths and make the other team play to their weaknesses, yeah, that's going to be the best position that you can put yourself in to win every single time. So that's what we try to do every single game.
Exactly. And was this something that like you kind of did towards the end of high school, like kind of try to really do a little bit of like a chess match, kind of like a one-on-one, like trying to figure out like what's working, what's not, or was that more of kind of like when you got to like the D1 level at Air Force where it kind of really truly started becoming a little bit more of your game?
I would say that high school is a little bit different. A lot of the times you get a bunch of new freshmen and new players everywhere
Okay.
in high school. So just getting the team to learn how to play water polo and play water polo together is the bigger thing, right? Being able to execute a basic kind of drop defense or
Yeah.
uh, a different kind of press defense, right? And learn how to fight through that in practice. Whereas here it's very matchup and very heavily like tactics and okay, if we have this matchup, we're going to go to this play, and if we have this matchup, we're going to go to a different play in college. So I would say that's probably the bigger difference in those two. But yeah, you go into high school as well with a game plan on what you want to try and do. It's just at the college level, you got a lot more capacity for that with the guys that we got.
Exactly. Like you can do like different plays, you can do different things, but then obviously in high school, especially in the state of Michigan, it's a little bit different of a style than what you would do anyplace else.
Yeah, for sure. It's a different kind of prep, and it's a lot less prep at the high school level, being quite frank. So college is just you have a lot more time and you have a lot better players and better coaches and we can
Yeah.
go and implement a better game plan. Because we're playing better players and better coaches.
Do you ever see water polo becoming an impactful or a big sport in Michigan? Because it seems like swimming's kind of growing, especially like the west side of Michigan. But do you ever see like water polo kind of continuing to grow, or do you think it's going to be like every once in a while you might see a water polo player from Michigan at like a D1 level?
I would hope it grows. I think it would be great for the state. I think it's a really fun sport and getting younger kids into it and getting them to play for longer instead of, you show up your junior year of high school, you don't really know what to do and you're a swimmer. You just come join the water polo team. I think it would be great for the entire state of Michigan if water polo became a bigger sport. I would love to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would love to see that as well. It truly seems like a really fun sport to play. I never got the opportunity to play it. The barrier to entry for my school was a little bit too much there. But like, what are some drills that obviously helped you in high school to kind of get to the level you are now? And then are those similar drills to what you do now, or is it a little bit different too? Because obviously there's certain drills that probably help with water polo in general.
I would say one of the drills in high school that helped a decent amount was one my coach Lucas gave to me, and it was we throw 20, 30 balls in the pool, and you have to score every single one, and you have a defender on you, but it's a little bit of dummy defense, and you just gotta get the
Okay.
shot off quick. So if you get the shot off quick, you're gonna win. And the ball comes in, you're gonna get a lot of those shots off at the next level in a game. You can get them off really quick in practice. So I'd say that's probably something that helped me a lot was just learning to get the shot off quick. And I mean we do similar stuff to that here, not necessarily that exact drill, but with more defense, a heavy zone defender, and just try having someone lean on you and you do the same exact thing and having to execute at the same level.
Yeah, and especially being kind of a center, right? Like you really truly have to get the shot off quick because you have the guy right behind you for a majority of the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a crash coming in, you got maybe half a second to a second to get a true shot off, so you gotta beat the center defender, the goalie, and the drop that's coming after you.
Exactly. And obviously, like, ended up working extremely well for you in high school. You were all state your senior year. You mentioned that you were kind of headed to Air Force anyways, and that you tried reaching out to a coach a couple of times, and then he finally got back to you. What was it like when he finally got back to you and basically said, like, hey, if you come here and you want to join the team, you have a spot?
I was just really excited. I didn't know. I thought I might have to be done playing water polo. I obviously didn't want to be. So I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to come play here. It's hard and they're long days, but the opportunity to come play here and continue my career and do something at an even higher level than I thought I could do it at is that's rewarding to me. So I was at the time I was just really ecstatic when I got a message back.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit of like a return of like normality, right? Like when you obviously get to play water polo, like it's something that you've done for a few years, headed into Air Force. But when you decided to commit to Air Force, when you decided to go to Academy, obviously it's a really big decision, right? It's something that you kind of seem like you were going to do anyways, or it was kind of a part of the idea. Did you know very much going into it, or was it more of like when you stepped on campus for that first day, it was truly getting kind of thrown into the fire?
I knew a decent amount of what was going on. And kind of what the academy was, but it's hard to tell someone without a great contact that's there and without actually being here, and there was
Yeah.
a lot of change at the institution um when I came in. So even if I didn't know, it was vastly different than what it was going to be,
Okay.
so it was just a new experience and you're trying to find your way through that.
And what was that first day like when you stepped on campus and going through like basic training, going through everything to really truly kind of prepare you for being a dually your first year?
Well, yeah, my first year and my first day was parents dropped me off early in the morning. I was the first group, like the first time slot to go through. Went in processed, and then they got you running around on the Tizo, just going and picking up this thing. You don't know why everyone's yelling at you or what they're really yelling at you about because you know so little about like the meticulous things, which is what basic training prepares you to do, right? And that's
Yeah.
what it's that attention to detail and learning about what goes on in the military and the basics of how it works. So that first day was definitely stressful. One I don't really want to live again. I'd
Yeah.
rather not, but you know, I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy that I got to be here and I got to experience that first day.
How long did it kind of take you to like settle in, kind of learn those little like I don't want to say minute details, but kind of like learn what it's like to be at the academy? And then do you have like a story of basic that you're like that was kind of a crazy experience that you want to share?
I wouldn't I wouldn't say I had a crazy basic experience. I would say it was probably pretty typical across the academy. Again, basics a little different here than BMT for the rest of the Air Force, but
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing was just learning the attention to detail stuff. Like the little stuff does matter, and whether your lock's locked, how your drawers are folded, and where stuff is in those drawers,
Yeah.
how you make your bed, how you wear your uniform. That was a big wake up call, because that's something you don't really think about before you come. into the military or until you have to wear a uniform like that, you know, and respecting and honoring what a privilege that really is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, like learning those different things, it's not something that you obviously like knew prior, or it's not something that like you really focus on prior. But then obviously you end up getting through basic, you end up becoming a dually. What is a day-to-day life like at the academy for you and kind of like adjusting to that life?
Yeah, so freshman year, pretty typical day was wake up for morning lift. We had morning lift at I believe 6:30, 6:45, something like that. It was
Okay.
last year, so I honestly don't remember the exact time.
Yeah.
But wake up and then we get breakfast and go to class until lunch, and then do new meal formation where everyone kind of forms up and we all march into lunch together, the entire wing eats together. So that's something pretty cool that isn't typical at another college, you know, and we eat family style. So it's not a buffet. It's, you know, you're kind of forced to sit and talk with people and
Yeah.
learn about people, you know, and kind of build that community. And then it was for me, go back to my room as quick as I can, drop off my school stuff, and then run down to our team room so I could try to get homework done before practice for like 30 minutes to an hour, maybe even take a nap if I didn't have a lot of schoolwork, which those naps were great. Some of
Yeah.
the best sleep I ever got was down there. And then, you know, go out to practice, go hard, and then change, come back up, get dinner, do some more homework, and then go to bed. You know, and that's still a pretty typical day now. Like that, the core of the day really hasn't really changed much.
Yeah, but like being there for another year, right? Like you kind of have a little bit of a more idea of how it's going to be rather than obviously your freshman year.
Yeah, you start to roll with the punches a little bit more, right? Like
Yeah,
freshman year, everything seems like the sky is falling as soon as something changes. You know, you
yeah,
thought you figured it out, and it's, oh, I got this 2 hour training in between lunch and practice that I have to go to. And now I don't know what I'm going to do for my homework, and I'm going to be up until 2 in the morning because I have to do homework then, you know? So I would say you just learn to roll with it a little bit more and you prepare a little bit better and build in some of that redundancy in your day so that you can, even if something like that happens, you get a last minute call, you got to be somewhere, you can still get all your stuff done.
exactly. And speaking of rolling with the punches, what was that first practice like when you got to Air Force? And do you have like a welcome to college moment that you're like, okay, like this is completely drastically different than any level of water polo or any experience I had prior to this?
I would say that welcome to college moment definitely happened in practice. You know, it was that first day was pretty bad. We didn't touch the balls for about a week, so
Okay.
we had a 3 hour swim practice essentially, just trying to get everyone back in shape after the summer, which isn't too fun. You know, you
Yeah.
come to play water polo because you don't want to swim, and then we ended up swimming. So, but you gotta get in shape. So that was really hard, and you know, I don't like swimming personally. I would doubt many of the guys on the team do. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a moment to wake up and realize, oh, and you know, we were going fast. You know, it was first day back. It's like, oh, you would think kind of ease into it, you know, just try and get cardio. No, we're conditioning. It's hard conditioning. And then probably my first welcome to water polo moment was probably against one of the juniors at the time, Jake Dixon. He was a center defender, and I remember the ball coming in the center, and then next thing I know, I'm back 5 yards after he stole the ball, you
Yeah.
know, and I didn't even get a chance to touch it. So that was probably my welcome to college moment.
When you go through that, do you start to question like why am I here? Like, am I good enough to be on this team? Or is it more of like a learning opportunity that you truly viewed it as?
I think it could be both. You know, I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah,
You know, your first possession, and you know, you're the freshman, so the coaches are looking at you and see how you fare in the college pool. Your teammates are looking at you, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Your first possession, where you get an opportunity being like that. You know, like it's a rough experience. Like
yeah.
mentally, it's like, oh, I thought I could come in and at least hold my own, and that you just don't your first position. But it also was a learning opportunity at the same time, right?
Yeah.
If you let it eat you up, it could definitely go pretty south for you pretty quick. But you just get opportunity to learn from one of your teammates who is really good, and you get to learn from them what they did, and you get to try and get better because of it and not let it happen again.
Exactly, and you also, like you mentioned, your teammates. You're there to learn. You're there to kind of get better. It's kind of like that iron on iron thing. Like you're going to continue to grind. Like you're going to kind of like embrace the suck, and that's a real big reason why a lot of like the academies talk a little bit about like the brotherhood that you truly have at the academies. Talk a little bit about what it's like to play water polo at Air Force and just kind of the brotherhood that you guys have there, just how closely connected you guys are because of that.
Yeah, I would say that we're all able to just hunker down and get through something together. At the academy, a lot of things are pulling your time, and the group of people, if you're an IC, that's going to pull the most of your time is your sport, right? And you go
Yeah.
down every single day and spend 3, 4 hours with the same people. You're forced to kind of get close and rub shoulders, and that's going to create some kind of brotherhood. There's going to be fights and there's going to be whatever, that comes with that, but you get through it at the end of the day, so not everyone's gonna be best buds with everyone at all the time, that's just not how it's gonna be. But we need to hunker down to get something done, or we need to get this game plan installed for against this team, and or
Yeah.
we need to rely on you to execute your part of what we're trying to do in this situation. I mean, it builds a lot of trust between each other, something you can rely on, which is something I don't know if you can have without that time spent together.
Yeah, and also at the same time, right? Like with everything kind of going on in college sports, right? With like the transfer portal, with the NIL, that's not something that's happening at Air Force. That's not something that's happening at Navy. That's not something that's happening at Army. How have you guys continued to be so successful when you're doing kind of the opposite of what other programs are doing around the country? Like it's truly you have to have not only development but you also have to have the brotherhood in order to truly compete against other programs that might have other advantages that you guys don't.
Yeah, I would say that playing to our style and playing in a way that we know how to play and how we can exploit another team in that way. We run a bit different of an offense because we're kind of forced to, and we're able
Yeah.
to because we have the same guys practicing with each other, every single day, and every class year, it's the same guys that were there the freshman year. There might be a few less, but there's never any more. So being able to bring in and having everyone like go through that together, I think allows us to play a different way that we can be successful with compared to other schools.
And how cool is it to kind of have the same guys for the most part? Obviously, you mentioned there might be one or two, maybe three guys less, but like these are going to be guys that you're going to be competing with for the 4 years that you're at Air Force.
Yeah, I think it just creates a great rivalry at the positions. You're trying to beat the guy across from you every single day. You work hard, you try to beat him, and then you step into that locker room and you're boys again.
Yeah.
So it builds that competitive rivalry in practice, which is something that you need to do. Keep competing every day in practice and go hard in practice.
Yeah, and there's a balance to that, right? Like competing where you want to get better, competing for the starting spot, knowing that if you don't play well, there's someone right behind you that will happily take your spot. But at the end of the day, when you step out of the pool, like your friends, your family, it's the brotherhood. Like it's obviously that competitiveness that you want to have, but it's about balancing that and truly being a team that's connected, which it truly seems like you guys have that at Air Force.
Yeah, 100%. I'd like to say that I think the brotherhood here is better than at most other places. We all come and practice every day together. There's no one new that's showing up that can throw something off. And if we have
Yeah.
a problem, we got to deal with it internally. We can't just have someone transfer out and then bring a new guy in that's just as good.
Yeah.
We kind of got to figure it out as a team.
Yeah, like you have to kind of deal with the issue because if you don't, it's just going to probably again affect the team negatively, which is something that no one wants to do.
Yeah, 100%.
And then obviously kind of being connected as a team, kind of having similar goals. You also deal with a little bit of a rivalry as well, which I know is a game that you guys look forward to every single year. Talk about the rivalry with Navy and just how fun it is and just kind of being an athlete that competes against Navy every single year in the pool.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Michigan versus Ohio State in football every year. So being a part of that rivalry as a viewer, it's something really cool to see. I think that's the greatest rivalry in college football is Michigan
Okay.
Ohio State. But then coming here and being able to prepare for a game like that of that same magnitude. We're not in the same conference. We play each other once a year. It's pretty early in the year typically. So it's on a standalone. There's no games later in the day. There's usually no games the next day or the day before.
Yeah.
So we're preparing all week for that game, and that game is really important for us to win. It's a pride thing, and we want to bring the trophy back here. We haven't been able to the past couple of years, but it's always a close game that we're gonna fight through.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't go our way, we can say we left it all in the pool.
Exactly. I also do know like the pool is pretty packed, like the stands are packed. Is that something that you guys kind of realize during the game, like just how like much the stands are around, like how much support both teams have? Or do you really not really kind of realize that and you already know like how big this is just because of like you've been a part of it for the last couple of years and it's probably something that gets discussed quite often.
Yeah, I think even if it's not a conscious feeling, you definitely feel it subconsciously. Sometimes like after a goal, I mean the crowd's right back with you. If you let up a goal, they're ready to go watch you score again, and you're trying to perform your best for them.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the day, we're representing the Air Force, so we're representing the people in the stands.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times that's cadets in that game. So having them pick you up after you let in a goal like in the fourth quarter, or having them celebrate after you score a goal in the fourth quarter, right, to go up one or to go up two. I mean, that's one of the best feelings as a team and as a player in the water that you could get.
Exactly. And it's probably like the one day a year where like you guys don't like Navy. They don't like you. Obviously, there's the Army Navy game in football as well. You mentioned Michigan, Ohio State in football. Like there's just a different level of rivalry, but there's also probably for you guys a different level of rivalry, but also respect there for each other because you all are cadets. You all will be serving the country, but for that one day it's truly a rivalry that no one probably likes each other for that little time.
Yeah, and I mean those guys are super high class and they deserve a lot of respect too. So being able to go play a game of respect, but also going after it. That line doesn't get blurred, I feel like, with those guys. There's always respect there. There's always respect after the game. There's
Yeah,
always respect before the game. But when you're in the pool, it's full game. Like it's game on. Everything goes.
yeah,
So that's something pretty special being able to do that in the water and then go after and shake hands with a bunch of high class, highly respectable men as well.
yeah. Do you guys do the singing first, singing second as well in water polo? I know that's an Army Navy thing in football, but I didn't know if you guys did that for Air Force Navy in water polo.
Yeah, so we'll sing the third verse after the game, and
Okay.
then which is the third verse of the Air Force song. That's typically an Air Force Navy thing that we do.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know. I know they do that for some events, but other events they don't. And obviously, like with the rivalry, I've never been to a game. Maybe one day I will have to go to a game, but like you said, I know every single time that you guys play each other, it truly seems like it's a really close game. And I know it was a really close game this past season. Hopefully next year you'll be celebrating a win over Navy.
Yeah, hopefully we get it done at home next year.
Yeah, because it was at Navy this year, so I'm sure you'll probably be pretty excited to be back home in front of your home fans next year and get the crowd going. And I'm sure it'll be either packed the stadium game or it'll be packed no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. That's a game that we can look forward to having the wings support in, and having just that great atmosphere for a water polo game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But like throughout your 2 years, year and a half that you've been at Air Force, how much have you kind of developed into like the water player that you are currently, and just how much has it kind of helped you grow as like a leader that you're becoming?
Yeah, I think just being able to put my head down and work every single day at something I want to get better at and something that's difficult to get better at. You know, it's not an easy sport. It's not a something that you want to go do every day. You
Yeah,
know, as much fun as it can be, and like some days you just don't feel it, but you're gonna go do it anyway. So being able to develop in the pool and then translate that out of the pool, you know, and taking that mindset into school and becoming a better leader in person as well at the academy is I think they translate to each other. You know, if you're a
yeah.
better person up on the hill, you're going to be a better person in the pool. And if you're going to be a better player and develop more in the pool, then you're going to be a better person up here.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals that like talking to like people at like Army, people talking at Navy, I'm sure it's the same thing at Air Force is the goal is to eventually create leaders for obviously the military, like create leaders for the Air Force. Because of that, was it like kind of being part of a team full of future leaders? Like it has to be kind of cool to be a part of a team that just has so much like leadership and kind of like the goals that you guys have going forward.
Yeah, I mean, being around a bunch of like-minded, highly determined people of super high class, and it's something really special. You know, you don't get to do that, not just with sports, but in real life as well. Like, there's not a lot of opportunities where you're going to 100% be around really high class, highly determined people. And so it's really nice to go and compete every day with those kind of guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, again, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with people that will push you. And that's exactly what has happened throughout Air Force. And hopefully that continues to happen for the next few years for you with water polo and just at the academy as well.
Yeah, 100%. I would love for that to remain the case, and I bet it will. I
Yeah,
bet it will be the case for the next couple of years.
absolutely. But to kind of wrap it up real quick, for anyone that's listening, what kind of advice would you offer to those water polo players, anyone that is considering going through the recruiting process, especially if they want to go to an academy?
I would say just reach out to coaches early, right? The quicker you can get on their radar, the better, you know, and get your stuff, your application stuff done as quick as you can too, right?
Yeah,
Show that initiative that to the coach, hey, I want to play. I'm getting my stuff done. I got my medical exam done. I got my appointment interview done. So I'm just waiting on that. You know, do whatever you can to on that side, on the prep work side, and then go
yeah,
be the best athlete you can, right? You got to have both. You can't only have one because if you're super prepped but you're a bad athlete, you're not going to play.
yeah,
And if you're a really good athlete but you don't get your stuff done and you don't turn them in, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get to the academy in the first place.
yeah.
You know, so you gotta do both. You gotta burn out both ends for that, being both prepared and showing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then also taking care of your stuff on the field or on the court, whatever you're doing to be the best athlete you can.
And also doing well in school probably helps a little bit with that
Yeah,
because it's not
100%.
easy.
You gotta you gotta take care of your school stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So that's another big part.
Yeah, but it kind of has to be cool for you a little bit like a full circle moment kind of playing water polo at Air Force. It's something that you're going to go, seem like you're going to go to Air Force anyways. And now you've been playing water polo for the last 2 years and you're going to continue to play it for the next 2 years. How excited are you for that? Obviously, like you mentioned before, it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be something you look forward to, but it almost has to be kind of like a full circle moment going to a school that you wanted to go to, but also getting the opportunity to play a sport that you love.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just incredibly grateful for the opportunity, you know, and taking the 50,000 foot view sometimes of I'm actually doing what I dreamed of doing 4 years ago, right? That we often get tunnel vision on what we're doing right now and
Yeah,
how, oh, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to take this test. And, you know, I also got practice and I got training this weekend. Sometimes being able to step back and take that viewpoint of, now, 4 years ago, you know, 16-year-old me, 15-year-old me, this is exactly what he wanted to be doing. You know, he may not have known all the ins and outs, but like you're living what you wanted to do, which
yeah.
I think is something really special when you take that viewpoint of it, and something really gratifying about it.
If you had the opportunity to talk to like your 15, 16-year-old self and just kind of had to explain your journey and just kind of explain what the last few years have been and just kind of the process and just how much you've changed as an individual, what would you tell yourself about everything you've been through?
I would just say, just keep rolling with the punches. You know, I mean, you expect one thing, and the quicker you're going to be able to adjust to that thing not happening or a different path being taken. You know, telling 15, 16-year old Benny Swanson would just be, hey, just keep rolling with it. You know, you're on a great track, so just keep rolling with what you're doing and continue to try and be the best at everything that you can do. You know, you can control what you can control, and then the other stuff's out of your hands.
Yeah. And that's going to be for the rest of your life as well, right? Like everyone has to roll with the punches. You are going to experience things that are going to be difficult. You're going to experience change. But one thing that I do know is that you got a couple of years left at Air Force. After Air Force, obviously, you'll be joining the Air Force, serving for 5, 10 years, kind of depending on the job that you're going to do. And then whatever you do, you're going to be extremely successful at it. So I really truly wish you the best of luck for these next upcoming years. In water polo, also your years coming up as well in the military. I know you're going to do great things. I really appreciate you taking your time to join to talk a little bit about it today.
Yeah, thanks, Zach, for reaching out and inviting me on the podcast. Just want to give a shout out to my family, right? They're
Yeah.
the ones that got me here. My high school coaches, all my high school teammates, and then now Coach Brown, Coach Huckins, Coach McKee, uh, Coach Brett Fogelberg, and all the teammates that I've had here. You know, you guys have they've all made this experience and this ride really enjoyable. So I just want to thank all of them for that.
Love that. And yeah, you still have a couple more years left. I truly hope that you're able to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish the team goals you want to accomplish. I'm sure doing well in your guys' conference, beating Navy the next couple of years, trying to get into the NCAA tournament, all that kind of stuff are going to be some of your goals that you're going to want to do, but also development along the way. But really appreciate you joining. Really hope this was worth your time. Hopefully you had fun. One thing I always say to anyone that ever joins is if you ever want to come back on, would absolutely love to have you back on. It's been a blast. No pressure to do so. I know life gets a little bit busy on your end, but really appreciate you joining. Really, again, best of luck and really appreciate you joining, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And that is a wrap to episode number 552. Thank you again to Benny for joining and tune in to the next episode.